I arrived on a moonless night and the sky was a machine gun of light. Relentless, hypnotic, impossible to ignore. This video promises raw moments, near misses, and the one surprising fact that changed how I think about storms. Stay for the last image. It's worth it. I'll show you why 7 nights felt like a lifetime, and why locals treat this place like sacred ground. Plus one tiny decision that nearly ruined our gear. Curious? In a moment you'll see how a single bolt rewrote my plans. The first night hit faster than jet lag. One bolt. Then another. The thunder sounded like someone pounding drums on the roof of the world. I felt my teeth vibrate. I kept asking, is it supposed to be this loud? In a short walk to the shore I met a fisherman who joked it was the sky's radio. But here's the catch. That joke hid a serious survival trick locals use during storms. You'll see it later. This scene sets the stakes for the week ahead. Meteorologists point to an unusual cocktail. Warm marsh air, persistent winds from the mountains, and methane rising from the lake. It's like a lightning factory. Compare it to a regular thunderstorm that dies overnight. This system recharges on every breeze. In our talk with a researcher, he pulled up a graph showing strikes stacking like a barcode. Staggering rates that defy intuition. In a moment you'll see a stat that made my jaw drop and changed how I photographed the sky. How can nature sustain electricity for hours? I sat with 3 elderly guides who each had a different myth. A bride of thunder, a lantern that refuses to sink, and sailors who returned years after vanishing. One man showed me old scars from a bolt and shrugged, "The lake keeps stories." Micro-stories make the place feel ancient. But here's the curiosity. Their practical advice about when to avoid the shoreline came from real lightning pattern observations, not superstition. Stay tuned. I tried one of their rules and it nearly saved us during a night crossing. Sleep became fragmented, shredded into 20-minute pockets between strikes. Earplugs were useless because the thunder was bone deep, and every flash reset my heart rate. Imagine trying to nap beside a passing freight train, but louder and electric. One night I dozed and dreamt the sky was a strobe light at a concert, then woke to a guide shaking me. In a moment you'll hear the small ritual we use to force rest, and it's oddly effective. How do you sleep while the sky is firing non-stop? Cameras, recorders, and batteries were currency. Salt air and repeated discharges are corrosive. I built a makeshift Faraday setup with a metal box, wrapped cameras in plastic, and kept spares inside waterproof dry bags. But here's the catch. One inexpensive item failed spectacularly. I'll explain the exact sequence and the brand that fizzed under humidity. In a few scenes I'll show you the wreckage and the surprising fix that salvaged our footage, so don't fast forward. Practical steps now saved my documentary later. We boarded a small skiff at 2 a.m. with a guide who hadn't blinked in 30 years. Bolts braided the sky like knitting needles. The motor coughed once, and the whole boat seemed exposed, tiny under the cosmic fireworks. It felt cinematic, but this wasn't fiction. It was dangerous. At one point a bolt hit within meters, and the water steamed. The guide muttered an old proverb and steered for reeds. In a moment you'll hear the exact words he said. A phrase that kept repeating through the week. Wildlife behavior changed dramatically. Bats swirled in tight tornadoes above the water, birds dropped silent, and then exploded into chaos on a single flash. I watched a heron hold perfectly still like a statue during a strike, and then resume feeding as if nothing happened. Why do animals act this way? That question kept me up. One night a pack of dogs howled at the sky in a rhythm that matched the thunder. A weird, spine-tingling chorus that hinted at deeper instinctual fear. In a moment I'll show slow-motion footage of a bat swarm. Photographing the storm felt like playing a slot machine. I set long exposures, remote triggers, and waited for the sky to pay out. On the 4th night, a bolt laced a perfect fork across the horizon and slammed into a distant oil rig. One frame, crystal clear. I compare it to catching a hummingbird mid-flight, rare and precise. But here's an open loop. That frame almost didn't exist because of one wrong camera setting I corrected at the last second. You'll see the before and after. Want the exact exposure? Stay for it. Cognitive fog crept in. Simple tasks felt like solving algebra. I misjudged distances, forgot names, and once poured coffee into a water bottle. Compare it to pulling an all-nighter at the office, but multiplied by sensory assault. The microstory. I gave directions to a guide and he laughed because I had pointed the wrong way twice. In a moment, you'll hear how the team compensated with routines and checklists. A small hack that prevented disaster. This scene shows the human cost of living under constant storms. After a long night, the dawn air tasted metallic, ozone sharp as citrus. Locals said it smelled like new coins, and chemically, they were right. Ozone from ionized air after countless discharges. I compared it to the smell after lightning in a prairie, but amplified and persistent. One morning I woke to the scent before the light, and followed it to a shoreline where the air shimmered with heat from recent strikes. In a moment I'll explain how that smell guided our photography and safety choices. Have you ever smelled electricity? People here adapted in practical ways. Nightly boat tours, lightning-proof storage sheds, and a local economy built around showing visitors the spectacle. A guide told me he supplements fishing income by guiding photographers. Another family rents out converted cargo boxes as safe rooms. It's entrepreneurial and a little precarious. But here's the open loop. One family lost everything to a bolt 2 years ago and rebuilt differently. Their story reveals a trade-off between profit and respect. Stay for that micro-story. It's a lesson in risk management. Midweek, a jagged bolt sliced the air so close water vapor steamed. The guide swore we were within meters. The boat's planks shook, and a wireless radio died with a pop. Time collapsed to heartbeats. We sat in stunned silence and laughed nervously, because laughter was easier than admitting fear. But here's the catch. The near miss exposed a redundancy gap in our gear plan and forced an immediate change in procedure. In a moment, I'll show you the exact fix we implemented. It probably saved our footage later. I found a field researcher who had chased these storms for decades. He showed me strike maps that looked like constellations and explained why certain seasons spike. He also admitted the mystery. Despite data, nobody fully models why it concentrates here so reliably. How many times did he say, "We still don't know"? A lot. Stay for one surprising statistic he revealed about strike frequency that even locals couldn't believe. This conversation reframed the week from spectacle to science, and opened new questions I hadn't considered. The landscape bore scars. Trees split like opened seams, metal posts pitted and fused, and sand transformed into glassy tubes where lightning met ground. Fulgurites like buried fossils. I ran a hand along a charred trunk and felt the texture of sudden heat. Concrete examples made the phenomenon tactile, but here's the curiosity gap. One tree near camp was left alive despite a strike, and its survival taught me about resilience in extremes. You'll see that tree later. These physical traces are evidence of the storm's long-term grammar.